great fires of the 19th century remain a mysterious, unsolved mystery. Who was behind these devastating blazes, and what could have been their motive? How did the fires spread so quickly and with such intensity, leaving entire cities in ruins? What secrets could these fires be hiding? What answers still remain to be discovered in the charred remains of the past? The great fires that have burned entire cities in North America are vast and mysterious occurrences, leaving behind destruction and devastation. What caused these fires? What were the consequences? How have these cities rebuilt afterwards? These great fires of the 19th century are a powerful reminder of the destruction that can be wrought by a single spark. The first great fire occurred in the year 1871 in the city of Chicago. The cause of the fire remains unknown, but the effects were far-reaching. The blaze wiped out entire neighborhoods and left around 90,000 people homeless. But what caused the fire? Was it an accident, or was there something more sinister at play? Some believe that the fire was an act of arson, potentially as a form of revenge against the city. Rumors of conspiracies swirled after the fire, with some pointing to suspicious behavior prior to the blaze. Others believe that the fire was the result of a terrible accident. Still, some believe that the fire was started intentionally by a group of individuals with a sinister agenda. Could someone or some group have wanted to destroy the city and its people? Was the fire a coordinated effort to cause chaos and destruction? This great fire ushered in a new era. According to National Geographic, the 1871 fire sparked the Great Rebuilding, as they called it. The Great Rebuilding was the effort to construct a new urban center. Big businesses, innovative buildings, and a new style of architecture were the results. Interesting, right? A new style of architecture was implemented because of the devastation of the fire. What do they mean by a new style of architecture? Why had the centuries old styles of architecture become phased out for a new form of a type of brutalism? In a sense, the Great Rebuilding of Chicago is shrouded in more mystery and intrigue. Who were the masterminds behind the massive urban transformation of the Windy City during the 19th century? What were their motives? How did they manage to pull off such an ambitious project? The Great Rebuilding of Chicago began in 1871 with the Great Fire and ended in 1893 with the opening of the World's Columbian Exposition. Yes, you heard that right. It started with the fire and ended with the World's Fair of 1893. This period between one of the greatest fires and one of the greatest World's Fairs in history was called the Great Rebuilding. In between, the city underwent an unprecedented transformation. The city's downtown area was completely redesigned with the construction of a new commercial district and the expansion of the city's railroads. Hundreds of new buildings were erected. The Great Rebuilding is often associated with the rise of the Chicago School of Architecture and the vision of Daniel Burnham, one of the city's most important architects. Burnham was the mastermind behind the development of the city's White City, also known as the World's Fair, of neoclassical and Beaux Arts buildings. He hoped it would become an icon of modernity and progress. But while Burnham's vision was certainly influential in the city's transformation, it was only one facet of the larger story. The Great Rebuilding of Chicago was a complex project involving numerous players. While many of them remain unknown, certain individuals have become synonymous with the project. Foremost among them is Philip D. Armour, a meat-packing magnate who was a major force in the city's transformation. Armour was a major investor in the city's new railroads, and his investments provided the financial backbone for the Great Rebuilding. The barons came to the rescue, but beyond the well-known figures, there have long been rumors of darker forces at work. Some believe that the Great Rebuilding was part of a secret plan to manipulate the city's political and economic power. Was the Great Fire deliberately set to create the opportunity for a massive urban transformation? Who were the mysterious forces behind the project? What were their ultimate goals? The truth of the Great Rebuilding of Chicago remains as mysterious as ever. But while the answers may never be known, the sheer scale and ambition of the project can be appreciated. According to Wikipedia, there were almost 100 great fires in North America across various major cities. Let that sink in. 100 great fires, ranging from Detroit to Buffalo and Charleston, all the way up to St. John's, Newfoundland. The entire continent was on fire. Let's take a closer look at the Great Boston Fire of 1872. According to the official information, to quote Wikipedia, the Great Boston Fire of 1872 was Boston's largest fire and still ranks as one of the most costly fire-related property losses in American history. The conflagration began at 7:20 p.m. on Saturday, November 9, 1872, in the basement of a commercial warehouse on Summer Street. The fire was finally contained 12 hours later, after it had consumed about 65 acres of Boston's downtown, 776 buildings and much of the financial district, and caused $73 million in damage. Let's go over that again. Contained in 12 hours. Does that sound possible? Looking into more references, it is completely true. In fact, the Great Fire of Boston in 1872 started at 7 a.m. on November 9, 1872, and was contained by midday the following day on November 10th. Let's remind ourselves that firefighting equipment was limited to brute manpower, pull carts and horse and buggies containing limited amounts of water and hoses. Fortunately, the Boston Fire Department is said to have 11 steam-powered engines at the time. Yet, with these incredibly rudimentary pieces of equipment, a fire spanning 776 buildings over 65 acres was contained in 12 hours. Another incredible fact is the low number of fatalities, given the circumstances. In all of the 776 buildings that burned, over the entire 65 acres of land, it is said that between 13 to 20 people had unfortunately succumbed to the fire, including 2 firefighters, for an inferno that spread to 65 acres in under 12 hours, covering 776 buildings. This is miraculous. It does not seem the patrons of these buildings were evacuated either, but rather, the story is said that up to 100,000 lined the streets to watch the fire from surrounding neighborhoods and to loot the commercial establishments. Trying to piece the events together logically simply leaves you with more questions than answers. Fast forward to 1883, and what do we have in Boston? Another World's Fair. According to Wikipedia, the American exhibition of the products, arts and manufactures of foreign nations was held in Boston in 1883 and 1884 in the Mechanics Hall. It was the World's Fair in America that had hosted the most foreign exhibitors at that time, including China and Japan. Between the years of 1872 and 1883, the city also went through a rebuilding of sorts that constructed some of the iconic architecture seen in the city today. The great fires of the 19th century have been shrouded in mystery and intrigue ever since they first occurred. Theories range from natural causes to mass conspiracies, and there is evidence to suggest that some of the fires were deliberately set. Who was behind these fires and why remain open questions. Was it a single individual or a group of people, and what were their motives? Were they acting alone, or was there a greater organization at play? Was the goal to create chaos, force change, or something else entirely? What was the result of these fires, and how did they shape the future? The great fires of the 19th century have left many unanswered questions, and only through further investigation can we begin to uncover the truth. Stay tuned for more next time. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up icon. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications for new videos.